George Floyd is celebrated for winning the race to victimhood. He did nothing. He's the fastest victim in the history of victimhood. He transformed himself from a drug addict, criminal, porn actor to African-American hero in a matter of minutes. Black history has programmed black people to memorize and recite every bad interaction they've had with white people and or the police. Meanwhile, we've been brainwashed into believing our treatment of each other totally irrelevant. The KKK and the Proud Boys are an existential threat to the black community. The Bloods and the Crips, they're just an inconvenience. Anyone who disagrees with those assessments is a white supremacist or the black face of white supremacy. According to modern black history, Carter G. Woodson would likely be regarded as a black face of white supremacy.
America isn't just this isolated place. It has a history too that is rooted inside of a Christian worldview all the way back from the Reformation. So you got Americans coming over here from the East, from Europe, and the gospel that's permeating from the Reformation finds itself all the way out from London, England, all the way over here to America. And what Woodson is doing is reminding black people that they are not just anchored in this time and this moment right here, but all the way throughout Christian history, so that we wouldn't run into these very moments where we start centering the wrong thing. You know, Jason, someone used to tell me, it's like, who you complain to is the God that you pray to. And right now...
Say, whoa. Say that again. That was good.
Who you complain to is the God that you pray to. And right now, that's what we've been doing. We've been complaining to white people as if they're the God that's going to be able to bring us out of this.
You know what? I'm going to go a little bit outside the sports thing. I'm going to compare LeBron to Liz Taylor, Mariah Carey, or Halle Berry. Broken relationships. Now, everyone talks about the 7-year itch. Well, if you look at LeBron, 7 years with the Cavaliers, great story, hometown story. But there's been a pattern here from every other franchise that he's returned to or gone to. It's called the fourth year funk. By the fourth year, you're kind of over it. Like, you know that relationship where you start having knockout, drag out arguments over the toilet seat being up or down, or whether like you're putting away your dirty dishes or not. We're at that point where it's kind of like Angela Bassett's character in Waiting to Exhale, where her husband doctor was with that Becky, and all of a sudden she took every one of his belongings and burned them in the car and sold them for like pennies on the dollar. That's where we're at with LeBron.
And we don't really have time to unpack this today, but at some point, Jason, you and I should have a serious discussion about the role of a football coach in legal allegations and what their expectations are. Because what the issue that I see is the expectation of the discipline that is handed down to players who are only accused of crime and were not proven guilty of a crime. And that's what the basis of this entire thing is. And so we're living in this world where the official stance of college athletics is believe all women. It is idiotic, illogical. It makes no sense. Innocent until proven guilty is the smart, logical stance. Provide evidence for your accusation is the smart, logical expectation. So, by the way, that's the official stance of the United States of America. We've done pretty well with that.
Going back to Kyler Murray, here's the problem. I heard that he has an issue with him shouldering the blame for that playoff loss where they got blown out by the Rams. Kyler, wake up. Anytime a team loses a playoff game and gets blown out, they're not blaming the left guard. They're not blaming the strong safety. But this is childish, petulant behavior. And honestly, here's the thing. Even if Kyler Murray comes to his senses and say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to play baseball. I'm going to stick with the National Football League. You have to think, if that organization has any guts with Steve, not Kim, but Keim, and their coach, the guy from Texas Tech that runs all that fancy stuff, in my view, you got to have a conversation. If you're Kingsbury saying, hey, Steve, who's our next quarterback? I'm not hitching my saddle to this guy.
That if a guy came out of college with no tats visible, he was edgy and pushing boundaries. And that's where we are in terms of, masculinity. It's been so attacked. It's been attacked from in the culture, mainstream media, professional sports. I talk about how it's attacked in the home. with wives and women who use their words, their one tactical advantage in the gender wars, to undermine and undercut their husbands and the fathers of their children. And I said, we've gotten to the point where one generation of women said, I don't need a man. And then their daughter said, I don't want a man. And now their sons say, I don't want to be a man. And that transition has happened again over the course of the last 50 years, and it's left us much, much weaker and vulnerable to outside attack.
Any person around the world who has a respect for truth or any kind of faith-based worldview knows that we're Babylon and we're codifying. We're making the same mistake as Sodom and Gomorrah. There's always going to be sin and stupidity in the world. But the dangerous people, the satanic people, they codify it into law and justify it with laws and customs and culture. That's what we're doing. We're a joke. We have a joke for a president. If we don't clean that up, we're not cleaning up anything. Joe Biden and everybody in the demonic, perverted, secular cult who are calling themselves Christians, but all of their actions, thoughts, their philosophies aren't based in religious Christian principles. They may say it, they may be able to quote the scripture, but they can't back it up. Because if they did, if they truly understand it, they would be offended by the president of the United States calling himself a Christian, standing in front of America and telling them that your God-given potential has something to do with removing the body parts that God gave you. Cut it out.
So real quickly, here are the 8 character traits. War is by the government, not individuals. We don't get to go to war as individuals. There must be a just cause. Take in the Ukraine. I'm going to argue, if I'm a Ukrainian, I'm entering into this war to defend my country. Okay, and I think it would match the criteria of a just war. So it's by our government. There is a just cause. Stopping the Russians is a just cause, a just intention to stop the Russians from killing, murdering, and destroying my people. It is a last resort. You've tried everything else. There's a formal declaration. All right, we're going to war. Limited objectives. Here in the case, it would be to stop the Russians. It wouldn't be, we're going to try to kill every Russian on the planet. 7, proportionate means. In other words, we're not going to use a nuclear bomb to get them back. We're just going to try to stop the war. And then 8th, non-combatant immunity.
Have you thought about reaching out to Doug Williams, you and Hugh Jackson, perhaps?
I know that Coach Jackson has. I know that he talked with Doug earlier, this week. And I really don't know how it went, but I know that they spoke. And yeah, certainly I would, talk with him anytime. Just to give him an opportunity to ask me any questions that he wanted to ask and to get to, know where my heart is and soul, But so I don't know if there's a Hail Mary or not to answer your question. I would always hope so. You'd hate to always say it's over when maybe it's not over. So I've learned the last few years to remain faithful and hopeful and always ready. So I'm sitting on go.
And so let's say they did circle back. You would be willing to go back to Grambling?
Right now, we'd have to cut this interview short. There's work to be done.
Someone you didn't coach, but you coached against. I'm wondering if you saw what has been revealed in the NFL when you had to coach against Patrick Mahomes. Did you see?
No, we said it. I say he's the best player in the Big 12, no doubt, hands down. He was as different a football player. He's an RG3 type. Because if the ball's in his hands, if he's on the field, you always have a chance to win the game. You're never out of a football game. He is, as we've all seen by what he's done with Coach Reed and Eric and them in Kansas City. I mean, he's phenomenal. He's a talent level that's unheard of.
I saw Stephen A. on TV the other day talking a bunch of mess like he knows anything about it. You know, he wants to come to Grambling. I would like to meet him in Grambling and tell him to his face, you know, and tell him the truth. You don't know half of what you're talking about. You're just making up something to get likes on Twitter. That's what the world's become. You know, our Briles is a real man with real life issues. Stephen A., you're on TV saying what you want to say, being emotional. That's what's wrong. A bunch of emotional people saying what they want to say and people listening to it. Hope that makes sense.
Does it make sense, Jason? If the coaching thing doesn't work out, I think you have a career in broadcasting.
No.
All he does is speak the truth.
I'm just telling
I love you, Jason.
They may not. I mean, hey, they may see this interview and never accept me back at Baylor. The truth is, it's the truth, though. It's the reality.
Yeah, you tell the truth. That's why I love you. Let your yeses be yeses.
And your no be no's.
And your no's be no's. That's right.
I want to defend JR because I got some criticisms of what he talked about, but I want to defend JR. He's on a journey. And you got to remember, he's running the same marathon as you, except you're on mile 24, he's on mile 1. And what I'm celebrating and just want to express positive energy toward, he's entered the marathon of life. He's on the journey. If he wants to start with a gym, trust me, when he's on that path, now he's attracted a Royce White to say, oh, well, let me go engage with J.R. Smith and help him catch up to see what, gym is great, but as we move forward, let's make sure we have a bank and we keep recirculating our investment dollars in our community and we keep it all within us, our community. That's, just because you're on mile 24, don't look back and the people that just starting the race and be like, come on, how come y'all ain't up here with me?
I came across the video on social media, and I just want to get Uncle Jimmy's take on it, first and foremost. I want him to tell me what he thinks.
And so what are we looking at? Is that a little boy or a little girl?
That is a little boy swinging around what appears to be a stripper pole.
Look, man, I don't like it. Shamik, you could have asked me a joking question. You didn't have to go there. What you want me to say about that, man? There's nothing funny about that. First of all, what parent would do that? You want your child to go viral for swinging around on a pole? What happened? You took the kid to take your kid to work day? The kid went to work and saw his mama swinging around on a pole? What is that, man? What's happening? What music was playing in the ground? If you want it, then you should have put a ring on it. If you want it, then you should have put a ring on it.
WAP, maybe?
What he gonna say next, Shamika? He gotta eat the booty like some groceries.
Of course, that's exactly what will happen.